CuntCast podcast is rated not safe for work. Urban Dictionary describes it as internet content generally inappropriate for the typical workplace, i.e., would not be acceptable in the presence of your boss and colleagues. All of these definitions apply. As a result, we will provide you with 15 seconds of pleasant, non-offensive music for you to advance to the next program, acquire headphones, or lock all available doors and windows for a proper sensual CuntCast experience. Please, be safe out there and enjoy the program.
Good evening, fellow sexual subjects. You are listening to a broadcast of the CuntCast podcast, a conversation with a classily characterized cunt, carefully crafted with cognizant courage to champion conscientious consummation. I'm your host, Najela Ree, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Mr. Aaron Rand Freeman. How do you do?
I am alive. This is the first program in about a month or so, if that late. Yeah, we've been on sort of an unforced hiatus. That's it. Stuff.
Yeah, I've been going through some shit, people. I think everybody is.
Right. Which is one of the reasons why no one's running me down. Like, in the golden age when people could, go outside and stuff. Every so often people would be like, hey man, let me get some new episodes of a variety of podcasts on your podcast network. And I'd be like, cool, I got you. And then I would hit somebody up. I was like, all right, we got to record. But now nobody says nothing. Everybody is being very kind to everybody else. So when something is wrong, everyone just assumes that people who are not appearing are just like needing a break. And there just is never any problem with that.
Yeah, and I want to thank all the listeners who were very kind. I lost my furry buddy, and everybody was super sweet about it and shared their memories to my beautiful kitty Logan, who crossed the Rainbow Bridge. So now my cat is dead and dormant as my pussy.
There's no response to that, for the record. You'll find, just as in the grand scheme of co-host responses, there is nothing in the book for that statement. So
yeah, I was like peak sad boy, and then I couldn't listen to my like go-to sad boy music, for some unfortunate reasons. But people really people came through and made me feel pretty good. I didn't know through all my shit posting about my cat that so many people felt attached to him. So it made me feel good that he touched so many lives. And that is peak 2020, where I get on my sex podcast and talk about my cat. Because I don't know about you, but most of us really aren't banging as much as we used to, because it could kill us. And not like in the 80s where it was like, gritty and glorious. It's like just like sad and full of the fear of respiratory failure. It's really hard to be sexy when you're thinking about respiratory failure.
Right. And frankly, you're not under the gun. You're not under the gun. That's my favorite part about, we're so sex positive that if you're turned off, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're that sex positive that you don't have to you don't have to engage in any sexual practice at all.
And that's kind of where I am at because I am not about to try to go and get a Tinder date in the middle of a global pandemic.
Well, you shouldn't know.
Though I'm seeing a lot of this, like people expecting you to be extra horny. And I feel like this is like the least horny time ever.
I find, what I find is everyone is, how do I put it? They know what they like. And for when the pandemic first hit, there was a lot of, sure, why not? Now there isn't. But I think when people are turned on, when people are given the green light, when they do see the thing that they like, they absolutely positively hit the ceiling. But until that moment, then it seems like they have no sex drive at all because of fatigue. So we're all so tired that we have a very, 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 very clear idea of exactly what would turn us on at any moment. And we want that and only that. And it's just fatigue. It's just when you're that tired, you actually have a very clear idea of wants and preferences when you're that tired.
I also kind of feel like we're back almost to like Byronic days of longing. Like somebody that I would usually like send pretty raunchy sex to. Now we're just like, I really hope in the coming years I get to touch you.
Right.
And I was looking at my phone. I was like, did I just really send that? That is like that I should be like putting an apple under my underarm and like sending it to him because I can't show my ankles. Like that is some weird 1802 bullshit. I'm just like, I would like to touch you one day.
I have listen, I'll say this. I maintain this. If someone says that, that's a really good sign. Like I've had to tell some of my guy friends, some of my friends that if someone expresses some desire to touch you, but like a year from now, it's actually pretty good. That's a big compliment. Like people say it, like when you hear it and you feel weird, and you say it and you feel weird. But if you hear it, it's a very good sign that someone's like, after the world returns, after the end times, when the dinosaurs are no longer and humans emerge from the waters again or whatever, I'd like to touch your butt. That's pretty goddamn cool.
It wasn't even the butt. Like I just want to touch you. Like I said like I'm like very touch starved, and I hope like the first person that I get to touch when this is all over is you.
Right. That's a really beautiful sentiment. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's a really beautiful sentiment.
But it's also super sad that's where we're at.
I mean, and the thing about
it, and I used to send this guy like really gross texts.
Right.
Like I used to send him things like, I want you to fuck me so hard and degrade me so badly that after you're done, when I look in the mirror, my reflection turns away. Like I wanted depravity, and now I'm just like, I would like to touch you. Like, can we just bunk fingertips?
Right.
And not fear for our very lives.
Right. There you go. Like I said, that's what I mean. Is what we want is very, very clear. That's what I mean. You're so tired that you've now done away with the slapping and the whatever, the throat fucking, whatever it is you guys did. And you've now pared it down to just holding each other's hands. Because you're that tired.
It went from spit in my mouth to like, I hope one day we could walk holding hands.
Right.
Out in the outside world, like in the before times, before the sickness came.
Right. We have an opportunity to communicate a lot of wants on a lot of levels, because we're like I said, there's a whole generation, there's a whole like chunk of us that will be able to communicate honest desires, because a lot of the fucks and a lot of the pretense that governed how we lived our lives has been kind of burned away. So there are a lot of us that demand stupid sexual shit when really we just want a hug. And the ability...
I feel like... so many more people get that now.
Right.
Like we are
Absolutely.
literally just a nation of the touch starved. We just like it's not even we want to get off. Like we crave an intimacy that used to be so frivolous to us and so base and so uh, we just took it for granted. And now I'm just like it's not even sexual anymore. Like I would kill to just give my friends a hug.
Right.
I got to go to New Mexico. Don't recommend traveling right now, by the way. It's very uncomfortable. Also, American Airlines is terrorism. But I got to visit my brother in New Mexico. And I hugged him and it felt like amazing. But then I was like, oh no, he's like an essential worker. And I was like calculating, like, I hope he's cool. So then I'll be cool because like he has good lungs. I do not. Like he gets COVID, he could like survive. I will not. It's the weirdest thing to hug your sibling and then calculate your survival rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope hopefully in 30, 40 years, when they're telling the stories, that somebody remembers that feeling. So we don't all feel like we went crazy. Speaking of people going crazy, so let's dip our toes into the zeitgeist of the era. The sexual topic of the era right now would definitely be WAP. Are you familiar with it?
I've grown familiar with the concept because the internet burst into flames over it.
I thought you were just gonna say, yeah, I dabble in some wet ass pussy.
I'm familiar with the concept. It's funny. It actually took me 2 weeks to hear the song. I caught all the memes and all the reaction. Didn't listen to the song for 2 weeks, just for no reason. Like typically whenever you look online and you see a bunch of black dudes and white folks gnashing their teeth over something black women are doing, it's usually aside from the fact that it isn't worth all the anger, it usually isn't something very polarizing.
Yeah. It was weird for me to write out this discourse because like obviously my social media it's very saturated with sex workers. So the way I kind of approached it was feeling kind of good that there's this mainstream song that is made by a former sex worker and features current sex workers, and you have all these civvies defending it. So that felt kind of good, but then I'm like I know they're defending this song and they're like saying don't shame sex workers, but I feel like this support wasn't about sex workers. It wasn't about us. It was adjacent to us, but not really about us. It was more so about the aspirational whore that civvies love to defend because that's their their whore sauna that they get to slip into when they want to zhuzh it up in bed. Which, sure, that's cool. But I believe that aspirational whore only exists because they completely disregard what sex workers actually are saying about our experiences and only filtering in stuff they want to hear. So they like a lot of the facade of a very well put together, very empowering sex worker, but they don't give a shit about actual sex workers.
Right. Yes.
They love everything but the stigma and the struggle. So that it was frustrating, but also I guess kind of nice. But like, I'm again hardwired for sadness, so I couldn't help but feel like it was a way for the civvies to have a whole lot of fun while completely disregarding what sex workers have to say. But I also was happy that like I saw so many sex workers that did feel good about the song. So I was like, yeah, okay. I actually did hear it as soon as it dropped, just because like I've been getting back into like fiction writing. So when I do fiction writing, I usually just have music on in the background. So I was listening to a bunch of Cupcake, Cardi B, and Megan Thee Stallion. So the YouTube algorithm just like served me the new song. And I'm like, aha, I enjoy this quite a bit. And then everybody was super, super mad about it. Which for me, I'm like, I've been listening to Cupcake since like 2016. She has a song where she literally says, your dick is smaller than my pinky toe, and I would rather ride Squidward's nose. Like the dude from SpongeBob.
That's pretty funny, actually.
It is hilarious, and I love it. But I kind of feel like in a post, like Little Kim, Cupcake, like I don't even feel like Megan Thee Stallion has said more horny things in her other songs. Like she has a whole song about really liking a bent dick dude, which shout out to them. Just like, yeah, it's been too long that we haven't been celebrating the good angled gentleman. But I was just like, why is this song the one that everybody decided was like too much?
Everyone got turned on while they were home, trying not to do a thing. Chief reason why men, the cishet dudes, the chief reason why they get mad is when you give them. It's always been like this. When you give them an erection out of turn, when you give them an erection when they don't think they should have one, they get very, very angry with whoever gave them an erection. It's the chief reason why men have issues with Lizzo, for example. Lizzo's objectively gorgeous, but because she's fat,
pretty girl,
right? Gorgeous, but she's not. But she's fat, so as a result, a fat girl isn't supposed to give you an erection, except when they do, and then when you do, obviously, it's the fat girl's problem. And,
yes, that is definitely my lot in life. I am quite familiar.
Right, and so it's the same premise here. Is it quarantine, pandemic? Or we were not prepared. A lot of dudes are home, they're horny, can't get dates, can't go out. And all of a sudden, Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion come out talking about how much they want to fuck. And it caught a lot of people off guard. And they're just fussing. Men fuss over their erections. That's just as a rule. We fuss over our erection.
Though I think it's it was a little funny to me because I remember only like a year or so ago, people were like, oh, enthusiastic consent. How can you be sexy? And I'm like, that is enthusiastic consent. Like when you're telling a dude to swipe his nose down your pum like a goddamn credit card, you are enthusiastic about that. Right. Like, so it was weird. I felt like we already had this whole conversation. And men were like, oh, well, I wish women would talk about how much they want it. And then these two women come out with a song about how much they want it. And it's not like presented mostly as like a power fantasy. Like it's kind of just like, here are my desires and wants and expectations. And I'm empowered to ask for these things because I have a pretty good, like, I don't want to call it vaginal hubris because hubris implies that like you're overshooting it, but like they're very confident in their vaginas. I think that's cool. And isn't that what we wanted not a mere months or years ago? So why are the Ben Shapiros of the world, the Russell Brands of the world, the fucking CeeLos who should really not be commenting on this? why are they so up in arms? Like, I don't.
I have said an adult male cishet guy has the decision making of a toddler, and it's not an insult as much as accurate. A friend told me about her daughter once. It's the greatest story about a toddler I've ever heard, where her daughter doesn't like pancakes, didn't want pancakes, right? I gave her pancakes and she was crying. So then at lunchtime, she asked her what she wants. She says, I want a quesadilla. She gives her daughter a quesadilla. But the quesadilla, on first glance, looks so much like a pancake that the little girl thinks that her mom is trying to fuck with her. And as a result, refuses all food because her mom is playing the dirtiest trick. She said, I don't want pancakes. It looks like not a pancake, but looks like a pancake. And that type of decision making, that type of processing, it's so much of the adult male that it just, like, I don't know any other way to put it. We want a thing until we don't want a thing, but we don't want the thing. But we do actually want the thing, except when we get it, because then we didn't want it. You understand what I'm saying? You don't. That's the point. There's no reason why. I hate to say this. It's just grown men's opinions have no value, especially of things they want, because masculinity makes us, it literally twists us around to the point where we're out of sorts. We're out of commission. We don't work. Our opinions don't work. Our ability to process why and when and who and what we want is shot until we start picking apart masculinity. It renders us incapable of offering an opinion on in any form of public discourse involving anything that we might like, because we don't know. It's as simple as that. It's such a clear definition of it that we've had, and just in the grand scheme, we've had, since the beginning of 2020, we've had black women do literally everything and had dudes complain about every single thing that they're doing.
Yeah. And like, speaking of WAP, like, it like hurt because I was very sad to hear that Megan Thee Stallion got shot.
Yes.
By Tory Lanez.
Yes.
And people are bitching at her because, like, oh, well, you're a snitch because you told. Like, he shot her.
Also,
like, do you expect from black women?
Right, but that's the thing. Is she didn't tell because he's not under arrest. She said he did, but in the moment, she protected him. So the fact that he's not in jail means she's not a snitch. She just said he did, which is, if she's not trying to send him to jail, it don't fucking matter. And that's
really reminds me that, like, there is no winning for us.
Right, that's the thing. And that's because our opinions on what are happening have no value. They have no merit. There's no logic formed in the beginning to then follow to a logical conclusion. We don't like anything and won't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Right. We won't say anything.
And it was also really weird because you have a lot of people who do not usually talk or say anything about sex workers feeling like this was their in to the discourse.
Right.
It was frustrating because as a sex worker, we are already fighting so many different fronts. Like, we're trying to get decriminalization, we're trying to get labor rights, and currently one of the biggest proponents to bills that really damaged us just got nominated to be vice president of the freaking United States, and we are constantly being silenced about how much that hurts. So to hear a whole bunch of people saying that this is the whore agenda taking over, like, I don't, it's hard to even form the words to say how upsetting that is. And furthermore, it's like, okay, they can release this video, which everybody is really overreacting and saying it's so raunchy, but they could do that on a platform, YouTube, which routinely deplatforms sex workers and demonetizes sex workers. they can do that because it's Warner Brothers Music, a big conglomerate that is making money off it. If Cardi B, the stripper, wanted to put this song out on her like private YouTube account that is not owned and managed by Warner Brothers Music, there's no way in hell it would still be there. Like even artists that are more independent, like Cupcake, she had a video for her remix of Old Town Road that got like obliterated. Can't find that on YouTube anymore. And even like when the song first dropped, you had Cardi B, Sukihana, and one of the other women that are featured in the video. Her name starts with A, I can't remember, but they all like were promoting their OnlyFans. And Sukihana is the only one who is a current sex worker who is posting, adult content on her OnlyFans. And you could see how she was treated versus how Cardi B, who, is very open about, yes, I was a sex worker, but she plainly said, if you want access to my business, I'll put it on OnlyFans, but it's not going to be adult content. And then you had this other young lady who I am told is a rapper, but I've never heard her music, but is like very pretty and does the Instagram. She made like $100,000 on OnlyFans, reposting the same stuff that she posts on her Instagram. And you had people comparing her versus Sukihana, who they're saying is so dirty and has too many children and, oh, it's so bad. But like they're fine with this other person on a platform that got where it is from sex workers, but now suddenly actual sex workers aren't good enough for that platform anymore. So on the same like week that we found out that the architect of Fosta Sesta is going to be in the running to be our vice president, and the fact that we all have to vote for her or else fascism, we also had to contend with knowing that the end for us on OnlyFans is it's like the writing's on the wall. Whenever a platform gets on and gets marketable, like our time on it is numbered. And OnlyFans, as much as I'm not super into it, because that's just not where I excel when it comes to sex work, it has kind of been a lifeline for a lot of people, especially because you can't really do in-person work right now. And we're watching that be taken away from us. We're watching the establishment that laughs at decriminalization be given even more power and the potential to be president. And y'all are mad about a fucking song. And somehow it's our fault that you're mad about this song.
Right. Like I said.
And like, I could get like ashy dudes and hoteps. Like, I'm used to that. That's like their thing. But like, I don't care about like the Ben Shapiros and the misogynists. But when like the lefty woke brigade are trying to use all like the conscious language to rebrand misogyny, and then play in my face like I'm too like I'm just not evolved enough to see that me talking about sex is really me just trying to be feminist by using the male archetype. Just like shut the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up, Russell Brand. And it's like, I'm just so frustrated. And like, I don't even want to begin dealing with those lefty woke bros who are trying to tell me how to feminism, because I also have to deal with like the anti rad femmes who think I'm a traitor, and you're really going off over like a fucking song. It just seems so goddamn ridiculous to me, especially because this song is not that dirty.
No, it's a song about enthusiastic consent, guys.
Yes,
It really is. It's just she's Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion are ready to go. That's the Cliff Notes version of the song. If they like you, then they're ready to go.
It's like my vagina is quite lubricated because I'm aroused and I would like to do something about that. Right. Are you game? I'm game. And people are like, fucking whores. And it's like,
well, like I said, we don't like that type of stuff. At least the guys don't. Even, like I said, the fake woke lefty people still intellectualizing their out of turn erections still.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like, where was this smoke when like the worst song ever was put out? And by that, I mean, Hey There, Delilah by the Plain White Tees. The fucking worst song. I will go to my grave on this hill. It is just, first of all, it's super basic and it's an earworm and I hate it for that. But then also, the guy who wrote it met this girl at like a party like once, found out that she was in a relationship, wrote the song and delivered it to her like parents' house because he didn't know where she lived, I think. And then that woman, who is an Olympic athlete at that time, was asked not about representing her country, being the first person to represent America in that sport, but they asked, is she excited because this creepy dude who met her at a party once wrote a song about her and got nominated for a Grammy? And they literally put microphones in her face and told her, what are you more excited about? This song that's about you, or winning a gold medal at the Olympics? Something you've been training your entire life to do. Fuck that song. Hey There, Delilah should be illegal.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Fuck that song. I was looking to play it, but when you said it was an earworm, it was a hard no. I'm not here to give anybody.
I mean, I just mentioning it, we're all humming the stupid song. And it's whiny. I hate that song so much. The worst part is, like, when I first heard the song, I just hated it because I thought it was bad. And then I found out the backstory to it, and I'm like, oh, that's so gross. Like, this foppish piece of shit made a terrible song and totally got to erase the narrative of this young woman's life for several years, to the point where she's like, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. And that smug son of a bitch is like, I still think, that maybe she plays it and thinks about me. Like, no, dude. She never wanted you. You created this whole world for you and this stranger and decided, oh, yes, this is what true love is about. Like, no, you had half a conversation with this bitch, you weirdo. You absolute bellend. Like, ugh. Disgusting. I would rather have every song on the radio be about just like 10-pound sopping wet moose knuckle ass vaginas than one more song that is as exploitative as Hey There, Delilah by the Plain White Tees. I'm sorry, I've been holding this in for like 10 years.
The thing about it is I'm contemplating ending the show. Like, where do we go? Like, you're saying is like, you didn't just like, You ever seen Aqua Teen Hunger Force where they throw something to the ground and it explodes? Like, you didn't just drop the mic, but you dropped the mic and it inexplicably exploded. So now there's no microphone. And we're just kind of left here standing awkwardly.
I don't know
because
why
you've
I
made
have such strong
the
feelings
miss
about
incredibly
this song.
No. The problem is sometimes, and I say this all the time, sometimes a joke is so good, an exchange is so sharp that they should edit. We should wake up the next morning, like an exchange, like we go back and forth, and then the exchange is so snappy and funny that we should no longer converse for the rest of the day and start over.
This is like not a bit that I've been like working through. This is just like I really fucking hate this
Listen,
song.
and it's so valid. It's such a valid observation about what we get mad at versus what we don't get mad at, which is what is really genuinely problematic and really genuinely irritating versus what we gnash our teeth over. It's not wrong. It's 100% a salient point, but as a result, I'm just like, well, I might as well just close my laptop. Like, it's just you've
And I know there's gonna be like people are gonna write me a sassy tweet or send me a Facebook message like, can you really have this much heat for Hey There Delilah when you like the terrible music of Panic at the Disco? You know what? I have apologized several times for my unfortunate love of Panic at the Disco, and I understand that is problematic.
The thing about
I will give you that.
the problem is there's no problem with you liking a thing if you know it's problematic. You've never once said that there is some moral value to Panic at the Disco. You have said from the moment that you've mentioned Panic at the Disco on the show, the very first time you said this is utter trash, and I like it. Fine. We all like utter. I like.
It was literally always an apology.
I like professional wrestling. Under no circumstances am I going to turn around and say professional wrestling as an institution, as I've liked it for 30 years of my life, has some moral value. It's been hot garbage for decades and decades. I'm never going to. And as a result, you can't be like, oh, Aaron, you like wrestling? No, I do. It's garbage. The people you argue with are the people who are like, no, there's some deeper inner meaning. No, wrestling is athletic stunt work and LARPing. That's it. It's cool. They finally stopped covering the women in oil and having them wrestle each other for weird butterfly purple belts. Great. They just stopped doing that like 5 years ago. So yes, sometimes the thing you like is just terrible. And understanding that it is terrible does not mean you should not like it. It just means that it is terrible, and you're not going to argue you're not going to use it to like form some moral platform with which to preach to other people. It's terrible. You like Panic at the Disco. It's fine.
Is it?
It's fine.
But I just feel like going off of that, there are people who are like really expounding on WAP, like it is cement discourse. And I just feel like, can it just be a fun song about wanting to orgasm? Like, can't we just have a fun song about wanting to orgasm?
Well, and that's another thing that's happening, because we're having so many problems that are bigger than the average citizen to such a degree that we have a lot of people dedicating a lot of time and thought to something that is just it just isn't that serious. We can no longer locate what is not serious, because the things that are so serious are so over our heads and so problematic that it actually is so big that we almost punch down as a form of self-care, like relief. And so that people have these incredibly long dissertations about a song about two women that want to fuck. They're ready to go.
And I will admit, I at one point had a 2,500 word think piece ready to go about this song. I was going to be part of the problem. But I just kind of like, we can just enjoy things. For once, just let people enjoy things.
No, we can't now, because we cannot.
I also, it was very, so I played the video for my mom because
sure,
I'm chaotic, you haven't noticed. But I remember I was telling her about it, And she was like really for the song when I was describing how people were angry about it because it's these two lady rappers and they're being very upfront about their sexuality and really demanding pleasure. And she's like, no, that's what we should have. I want to hear it. I want to see it. And she was like, oh, girl power. And then I played it for her and she was appalled. Now, did I find her rejection a bit performative because I felt like this is what she thinks should happen? But also, you know, Cardi B does say she wants a dick to tickle her uvula, and maybe that's a little bit too much for my mom. Admittedly so.
That's a general statement about that's the proper review of the song on Amazon. It's like, I think that this song might be a little bit too much for my mother. That's just a general statement.
Yeah, like apparently she just thought it would be more allegorically horny. It was like, no, there's really horny, and they're just singing about it. And, you know, I'm not going to say like my mom did a bad feminism by not liking the song because it is not her style. She recoils at like any cuss word in any form of media.
Generational context is key. We're not going to expect, I'm just not expecting radical feminism. I mean, 2020 radical feminism out of a 50-year-old Jamaican woman. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not a fair thing to expect. Like all of a sudden we're just gonna. It's
the one thing she was about was Normani's part at the end. She's like, I like that outfit. She's like, more of that girl. I liked her. I'm like, she didn't say anything, but she was pretty, and I'm like, okay. Oh, mom.
Right.
I kind of feel like if it's your bag, enjoy it. If it's not your bag, it doesn't have to be, but also like let people enjoy things maybe, because everything is terrible.
Well, that's why people are losing their shit, because everything is terrible. There's nothing. Imagine everything around us that we would like to fix, we have no control over. Which is why we dive bomb things that we can at least punch, something that gives us the freedom to have discourse on. We punch straight down so that we can just use some of these brain cells that we can't use in dealing with the plague or the administration, or as we just kind of twiddle our thumbs and don't hope not to die until election day.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like some of it is just misdirected hostility at our own powerlessness.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Cuties controversy over at Netflix, where a Singalese French woman directed this movie. It premiered at Sundance to so much accolades. And then Netflix decided to call it a twerk story and put a very, like, it's not sexy because it's a bunch of like 11-year-olds, but a lot of people felt very uncomfortable with how Netflix was trying to promote this movie. So much so that they're like, we want this movie banned. But it's like, you haven't seen it. You've never seen this movie. You don't like the marketing of it, but you feel like you have to do something because you're offended, but you're not actually addressing what has offended you, but you're punching at something because that's, I guess, what you feel you're empowered to do.
Yes. We've spent the entire pandemic punching at things that we feel like we can actually bruise. It's just something that we've been doing. It's the same reason why everyone spent their time trying to tear apart The Last of Us. You know what I mean? It's like,
it was fine.
It was fine. Most games are fine.
But like, do I think it should be compared to Schindler's List?
No. No.
I don't think that makes me anti-video game as art. I think it is
It's not.
valid art. I think it has some growing up to do.
Usual.
Tonal wise, like if you're gonna make art that is supposed to, it kind of feels like they want to be the video game equivalent of the book on killing,
Right.
which is a super good book. The author's name's escaping me, but it's about the psychology of being trained to kill and being in war. And if you ever want to write about stuff like that, I cannot recommend it enough. Um, but if you want to be the video game equivalent of that, then maybe your gameplay can't make killing a bunch of people super fun.
And the thing, and I say this all the time, is for the most part, if your game is going to be art, then it can't be a video game flavored video game. It can't be both. Your video game cannot be video game and then a film about something important at the same time. You have to eschew the video gameness. I mean, what I mean video gameness is by the basic rhythms of a video game they have to be eschewed, and you have to now give thought to every single step that you take. And Last of Us is an aside. You do a lot of murdering for a game about the ills of murdering. Full stop.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, you have to eschew the video gameness of the video game. If that game would have to have 150% less murder for us to talk about. Also, you have to be able to let people go. You'd have to be able to let people go. You'd have to deal with that. And you'd have less people to attack, less people to kill, less ways to kill them, and the option of not killing them.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't really have a game about how your choices can destroy you if you can't actually make choices in your narrative.
Right. Like I said, and like I said, if you're not trying to be a film, as a game, Last of Us 2 is great. As a film, it is terrible because taken in from beginning to end, it literally ignores its own point within about maybe an hour.
Because I feel like people who watched others play the game got more out of it and more to the intent of what the development team wanted than the people who are actually playing it, because the people who are playing it were like, I'm having a lot of fun killing these people, snapping this dog's neck, and it doesn't really register. Like if I shoot somebody and then somebody goes, oh no, Billy Bob, like you don't give a shit.
Right.
You're just like, ha, boom, headshot, you're dead, lol. Like it's a video game. Do I think, like, I always feel like every story has like its true medium, or stories can be best told through certain mediums, and I don't feel like the story of The Last of Us should be told in the medium of video game, or at least not that type of video game. Like it shouldn't have been a first person shooter. Let it have been a point and click adventure where you're really, or even like where the gameplay was more about like walking around and discovery more so than shooty bang bang. Because like if you're trying to make me feel bad because I play a section of the game and I'm introduced to a dog and it's a good dog, and then I play with another character and I have to kill that dog, okay, that could be impactful, but I've already killed like 11 dogs and those dogs are annoying. So I don't feel bad killing that dog that I found out was good, kind of.
You know what it is, and let me put the proper spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
To skip to the end of the spoiler, please fast forward to 50 minutes and 11 seconds. Please fast forward to 50 minutes and 11 seconds. If you do not want to hear aggressive spoilers regarding The Last of Us 2, that's 50 minutes and 11 seconds. Thank you. Okay. The biggest problem with the story is that you play as Ellie at all. if you played as Abby, whose mission was to kill a dude that she hates for doing something genuinely terrible, it would make sense that she's killing lots of things because she needs to kill things. She needs to kill a dude. Like, your mission of murder can't just be you killing one person. It literally would require some practice, which is kind of what her character was about, was getting ready to either defend her people and kill Joel. So you should have been playing as Abby from the beginning if it was going to be a game where you kill a bunch of people, because she was getting ready to kill one, the worst person she's ever known, and defend her town as the official defender, gate defender of her town.
Yeah. And I also feel like did people finish The Last of Us Part 1? Because everybody is like really like, oh my God, not my precious Joel. Like, Joel was the worst. He took a little child and he just broke her as a person.
Yes, he did.
Like, Joel is the bad guy of The Last of Us. And you can see that his like shitty way of life and his selfishness has not just destroyed Ellie, but he destroyed Abby's life and the life of everybody who was connected to those doctors who were trying to save humanity. And
Right.
I'm not saying that the Fireflies were like on the up and up, because they didn't give Ellie a choice. They didn't like clue her in. But as we find out in The Last of Us Part 2, that would have given Ellie a sense of purpose in her life, which she was robbed of. Joel did a big bad. He was the baddie. And that was the point. He lost his humanity.
I find that what happens a lot is when you play as a dude, you know how you're playing, and the point of a game is effectively the power fantasy, the transfer of a power fantasy. I think when your character is problematic, I don't think a lot of dual dudes, they can't disconnect the power fantasy from the character. So because what they're doing is their fantasy, they're putting, obviously if they're controlling the character, then what the character must be doing must be justified, so as to maintain the heroic power fantasy that they're engaged in. It's hard to detach yourself when you are taught as a dude to put yourself into the shoes of whoever you're playing as and whatever you're doing. I find the same problem with Kratos. A lot of dudes talk about Kratos like he's great. Even though the last God of War game, he is fully aware that he's terrible and trying to do the best he can while still being terrible, because he is in fact terrible.
Kratos is basically like the I threw it on the ground guy, but like with double blades. Like
he's objectively a terrible person who begat the end of the world in God of War 1 through 3 or 0 through 3. Yeah. And he understands this and is trying to do good, but he's never been a good guy. And he's trying to do the best he can from the position of being essentially like Cobra Commander, you know? Like, he's a terrible person and he's going to try to do the best he can with his limited resources of being able to be good. But a lot of people consider him to be a good guy because they control him. And as a result, he must be a good guy with some redeeming qualities because he's a good guy. And I wouldn't be controlling a guy who is me, who doesn't have a redeeming quality of some kind somewhere. This happens with Joel. This is because everyone controlled Joel through a very rather immersive, meaningful adventure in the lives of a lot of people who play video games. Clearly, he could have done nothing wrong. What he's doing had to be justified. It had to be, even though it wasn't. And he fucked up. He did an objectively terrible thing. Even if you get the decision, when I have this argument with people online, they always say, well, I understand what he did. Yes. And it's like, well, I would have done the same thing. Then you would have been a monster. And I'm not going to think about it as, you can make a decision, you can understand a decision and still be a monster for it. There are plenty of choices. If I had to make them, I would make them and be a ghoul to a huge section of people. I own it. That doesn't make me right.
Like, I remember, have you ever played Fable 2?
Vaguely remember it.
Okay, spoilers for Fable 2, a 15-year-old game. But they, in the end of it, you get a choice to resurrect your dog, who's been a totally good boy and like best doggo, or resurrect like thousands of people who died building this like evil tower thing. And like they give you the choice, and I instantly, like before the character was even finishing the sentence saying you could resurrect your dog or these people, I was like, dog. And like that was the bad choice. But I was like, I don't know those people. And also, they've been dead for like several, like they've passed. It was tragic that they died like that. But like, what's going to happen when you resurrect those people who have been dead for several decades? They're not going back to anything good. Everybody has moved on. I recently lost my dog who I actually care about. Do I think this is morally right? No, but it's an honest decision I would make. And that makes me, in that instance, a bad person. But like, at least I can be honest about it.
Right. That's the key. It's a monstrous decision, but you own it, and owning it is really the point. That's the point.
I remember I was actually mad because that was the quote unquote bad choice. Like another character like admonishes you for it, and I was just like, fuck off. I don't care. Like, I got my dog. Woot.
Right.
I know those people.
Wow.
Like, sure, it is really sad that they died building an evil spire, and there was some slavery. But like, how many of those people were pedophiles? Statistically, at least 4.
Right. But you're not out here trying to argue that you made the correct decision, and that's the thing. That's the big deal. So
yeah, you can't want to have deep or messy, complicated storytelling when the mechanics of the game is point, gun, shoot, win.
Yes. And if you do have, and it's one of the things, if you are going to do that, then you have to write the characters for it. If you're trying to tell a deep, meaningful story, you know what was a sneaky good story for this reason? Max Payne 3. Have you ever played Max Payne 3?
I didn't, because when I beat Max Payne 2 in my dorm room, I just started crying like really hard. Like my roommates came home and thought somebody I knew died. But I was very upset in a way that I've never really gotten. I know it was because it was a sad ending, but I know it like wasn't really about Max Payne 2. It was probably because I was going through a breakup, but like I was able to mourn through the end of Max Payne 2, but I've avoided all things Max Payne because of my embarrassment of weeping like a child at the end of Max Payne 2.
Well, one, Max Payne 3 owns that. Max Payne 3 is about Max Payne, the story of a guy who is hopped up on painkillers because of the painkillers you take as meds in Max Payne 1 and 2. So he's addicted to painkillers. And his run of wanton violence literally forces him to being a security guard in Brazil. And he kills so many people that even the people who are his handlers are like, we can't do anything. There's a really great scene where he's trying to get on a plane. They're trying to get him on a plane out of Brazil. But he kills so many people that the handler is like, fuck this. You're on your own. And it's just like, yes, they're writing the story for the fact that this dude, Gringo, hit Brazil and killed 500 people. He's drunk the whole time, high on painkillers, killing everyone, and eventually no one can help him because he's killed so many people. So they wrote this narrative where like the dramatic beats are, you have killed too many people, you drug-addicted Gringo. We cannot help you. I'm sorry, you're on your own. And he progressively kills more people.
I didn't play this game.
Right. And he progressively kills more people, but there's no one around him because everyone who offered to help him is like, dude, you got to stop killing all these people. And he's like, nah, I can't. And he's throwing the beer bottle at people. And every time somebody walks up to him, they like pull a gun on him. And then he pulls a gun on them and he kills them. And the homies come out. And then he winds up getting in all these gun battles. And it's like, that's how you write a story around the mechanics and the character of your game. If you're willing to do that. You know what I mean? The action progressed, but they were very aware of it. They were not making him out to be a hero. Everyone, at some point, the entire country wanted him out because he kept killing people. Eventually, even the good people, eventually it became a blob of people who wanted your white ass out of Brazil. Right.
Like, when you've killed so many people that, like, Brazil has...
Right. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, at first there was, like, there was, like, mild assistance from mildly corrupt, ambiguous security forces. And then they're like, dude, we can't help you. And then eventually the crime people were just like, we need you to leave. Like, we're trying to kill you, so you leave.
That did that pretty well. You were like, you play as like two guys. One has like a gross ponytail. Like, they're like mercenaries.
You're talking about Kane and Lynch?
Yes. Kane and Lynch.
Yes.
One has a gross ponytail. But like Kane and Lynch 2, it's kind of like they're all like, it's just misery porn because their lives have not gone well.
Yes. Yes.
Like, nobody respects them. Their families are torn apart, are terrified of them, as you would be if you know your dad is just super good at killing dudes.
Right. Yes. They are initially. I remember that game because people don't like that game, but I always say the game is super short. It's super weird. The mechanics are broken. It's not a great game. But the game is written entirely around the fact that you kill so many people that it's ruining your lives and the lives of everyone around you. Thank you.
As all that murder would.
Right. Yes, you should not be able to shoot your way through fucking Shanghai from beginning to end for 3 hours from like 6 p.m. to like 8 a.m. the next morning without ruining so many people's lives. You shouldn't be able to. And they're terrible dudes. They're like, we need to leave, but they can't stop killing people. They don't have family. One dude's got a girlfriend. He gets her killed. It's all terrible because, again, keep running around shooting people. And that's the thing is if you're going to tell a story, sometimes if you want to do that, those stories are more meaningful than anyone trying to do some high-end nonsense. Because at the end of the day, it's a video game, and what you do in a video game is so inherently destructive that it sometimes helps. It just helps to tell the story. Like, it's ruined. What you're doing here isn't great. It just isn't. It doesn't matter how much we were raised that it's great to pull a gun and shoot the bad guys. Pulling guns on people and shooting them wantonly, it doesn't matter. It's pretty fucking bad. It's bad.
No matter how you slice it.
It's bad.
We really got off.
No, don't worry.
I love that the show is going to be wet ass pussy and spoilers for The Last of Us.
Here's the deal. It is all relative. It's a good hard look at what the hell people are freaking out about, and it's important that if we have to wrap it all up, you have to think about where you are putting your frustration that you are powerless. In this instance, as we are kind of sitting at home, except for the people that just go outside, like it's cool. Vast majority of us are sitting at home, kind of waiting for a vaccine, waiting for everything to pass, doing this thing. There's heat wave everywhere. I'm in Texas. We got two hurricanes flying into each other. Whatever. We're all kind of sitting at home, really feeling our mortality. That you have to still give critical thought to what you spend your energy critiquing and why. Don't punch down to get a reaction out of a thing. Don't punch something you can bruise because you can bruise it. It's not a good use of your energy, and it diminishes people around you for it. Actually diminishes you too, but that's the moral of the show. So we didn't just go from wet ass pussy to The Last of Us 2 for no reason.
Yes.
We did it.
We did have a detour where I obliterated Hey There, Delilah, which I just found out that there is apparently a remix of Hey There, Delilah about Delilah's wet ass pussy, which is still kind of gross knowing where that song comes from.
Well, there you go.
And now, Hey There, Delilah, stuck in my head. God damn it.
I'm terribly sorry.
It's my fault. I brought this pain upon myself.
It's fine.
Like, instead of starting petitions to get a movie you have not seen off Netflix, how about we have a petition to make the plain white tees apologize for Hey There, Delilah? Somebody start that one. I will sign and promote it. I want them to go on a worldwide apology tour. And don't bother that woman, like, ever again. Like, she doesn't have to be a part of it. You have to individually apologize to everybody who heard your stupid song. Plain fucking tease, God.
All right. We're going to have to send everybody home.
I think I'm getting mad about it all over again. So,
right.
On that note, thank you for listening, and I will see you next Tuesday.
Enjoy what you heard? Become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/unfridays and follow the network at twitter.com/unfridays. You know what makes racists really mad? Black people having a good time. And we really have a good time making these podcasts. So, if you donate, then it's technically the same thing as funding the unhappiness of racists everywhere. Awesome, right? You know what to do.